Welcome to another episode of the Business of AI podcast, and I'm delighted to welcome Ed Chinn from Kintara to the podcast today. So, Ed, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Tim. Great to be here. Thank you very much. Really enjoyed this series so far and really pleased to be a part of it.
It's great to have you. And let's start off by hearing about your background, and then can you explain to us a bit about Kintara and what Kintara does?
Absolutely. I think what's described now as a squiggly career would describe my route to where I am so far, which has included a bit of work in Formula One on the sponsorship and PR side of things, and also training as a commercial pilot, and then doing that for a little while with an air ambulance out of the Isle of Man. Fixed wing rather than helicopter, and then bits at EY on the innovation side. So experiencing some frontier tech and these sorts of things, but also from that point, also working more with green, purpose-led, mission-driven businesses. And yeah, then AI in the form of ChatGPT, LLMs came along end of 2022, and sort of was a thread bringing my sort of passions, experiences together. I've always been jealous of people, deep experts in something. They knew exactly what they wanted to do out of university, but that sort of more generalist kind of skill set, and sort of thinking. Systems thinking approach, seeing how different things affect others in terms of sort of different departments, was a skill which has really helped in terms of AI, and sort of augmented that generalist kind of thing experience. So that's where I got to and launched Kintara November, end of last year. Kintara is an AI partner to help organizations to implement AI safely, so responsibly, in terms of that sort of compliance aspect, but also intentionally and purposely, so they can actually really fly and soar with AI and get all the commercial benefits from it, rather than the efficiency at all costs. So it's great to launch one's own business and apply personal purpose to it. But yeah, finding out it's a real boon. Purpose-led businesses, AI works very well with them. They seem to have an advantage with that North Star they have already.
Absolutely, and I love that reference to the squiggly career, because that is something which we're seeing more and more now, and it actually enables you to see some of the commonalities across different roles and see how human behavior plays a part in this. And actually, I wanted to bring in a question here around, the role that understanding human psychology and understanding humans, what role does that play in whether projects fail or whether they succeed?
I think it's absolutely fundamental. There's some parallels with sustainability in terms of the sort of quite paradigm changing events, AI, and the need to organizations to be more sustainable. But it's the behavior change. If that nothing changes there, or the mindset that doesn't change, then all the benefits, the actual transformation, it is a struggle for that to occur. So I think having the trust in an organization, obviously a very human thing to unleash the possibilities that there are with adopting AI. So that mindset to allow more cooperation, trust between leadership and the workforce, and unleash innovation and more efficiencies, but not efficiency, as I say, at all costs, building value into the business. It's a much underserved area or focus is the human aspect. It feels where the biggest gains are to be made. And the MIT report is much often quoted. 95% of AI pilots fail, not because of the technology necessarily, but because of the structures, the almost not the strategy done up front. That's the blocker, I think, for most organizations, is that just not that joined up approach. And working together, open, transparent way, open, transparent culture really does help that.
Yeah, and actually, you mentioned that you trained as a pilot, and I remember that one of the processes that pilots have to go through is this sort of rigorous training, and then you have lots of checklists to check that I don't know, the fuel is running okay, that the wheels are going up, the rotors are going around. I don't know, I'm not a pilot, right? But the checklists are presumably very important things you have to go through, because in a plane or a helicopter, if you get those things wrong, there's a high likelihood of something really bad happening. Now, if you're implementing an AI pilot into an organization, okay, that there's less bad things that are going to happen. Still expensive things that are going to happen, but they're kind of less bad. But what can you learn, or what should we learn from that process that commercial pilots go through about getting AI right?
Yeah, there's a couple of things. I've got one particular experience which really brought it front and center in quite an extreme way. When you're training, going call in the circuit, going around the airfield, practicing landings and takeoffs, you go through one after the other, several checks, and one of them is to put the carburetor heat on, and I is right next to the fuel mixture lever as I was going through the mental checklist, and the importance of the human being engaged with what is going on, because I suppose it's very sort of early automation checklist in a way. And I pulled back the fuel mixture, and the engine started spluttering. I was in at 1,000 feet at an international airfield, so yeah, things could have gone wrong very quickly. But unfortunately, I did, with the training, understand, okay, what have I done, and put the mixture back up, and the engine came back on. But there's a really interesting person to follow, Dr. Mark Bloomfield, out of Cambridge Judge University, and he's got an aerospace background. He was talking about the magenta line, which is really interesting analogy for AI, or most people's experience with AI through LLMs. The magenta line is the route which the aircraft systems suggest that the pilot takes, and there's lots of information, data that goes into that. And most of the time, that's great. Just pop it into Autopilot and follow that line. And it's a bit like with AI, the results can seem very sort of convincing, and think, yeah, absolutely, just do what that says. So it's not just sort of making sure there's not that cognition offloading, is that to be understanding the data that's going in, not following it too blindly, because it can go very wrong. There's that incident of the Air France aircraft, I think, when the pilots had to sort of kick in and take control, and because they're so unused to being hands-on in that situation, the result unfortunately wasn't too positive.
Oh,
But
goodness.
but with the analogy, it's really important. I think organizations get the fundamentals that in place in this window we've got, so they are around in the future.
Yeah, that's a really great analogy there of the autopilot is really key. And, we hear a lot that planes are being landed a lot more on autopilot now. But actually, when things go wrong, you need to have the human skills. And in order to become a pilot, you have to go through and learn all those skills in the first place, just so that, you are on hand there if something does go wrong, if you do pull the wrong lever. But the other thing there, which I took away from all of this, is sort of don't panic. That sort of in that situation, if you hadn't gone through all those hours of training, if you didn't know there were checklists, if you didn't know what to do to get it right, it would be very easy to panic when you pull the wrong lever, which makes things worse. Or I think that's one of the things that when you're going through a transformation, being able to know the logical steps, having some experience, having the confidence, having the right people around you to not panic, but to actually sort of figure it out and learn from that mistake and know how to course correct. That's the really important human part, which machines
Absolutely.
aren't as good at. So, what in terms of driving that team, what's the sort of the role of the leader in all of that? Is the leader a bit like the pilot, or what's the leader's role in sort of driving this and setting out the sort of the goals and objectives for this transformation?
I think the important thing for leaders to be comfortable with uncertainty, because that's where the most exciting, spotting the opportunities that there are with this opportunity we have, this moment in time to shape the future of the business with AI, getting those foundations right. And it is trusting those uniquely human aspects, that trust factor, the relationships, the intuition as well, something which and the vision, also understanding the jagged edge of the abilities of AI, to have that clear picture across different departments. So in sort of the response to that, the flip side is being aware of the dangers of AI pilots sitting within one department, IT department, for example, not having the input of others, that appreciation that that AI touches everything. So it's definitely a real puts a lot of focus on the leader to be clear strategically what they want to achieve from the adoption of AI, and particularly it helps if they have a clear picture of what their values are as an organization, or the mission they're trying to achieve. Like purpose-led businesses, like I say, they have a particular advantage because they got that North Star. Can be a bit of a danger, pressure to create just a pure efficiency drive and actually drive value out of the business, particularly if humans are replaced with AI. But there's encouragingly, there's been quite a few cases of organizations like I think Spotify, perhaps. Apologies to them if I got that wrong. A lot of people being laid off and then them realizing, oh, they were quite useful, or thinking about thinking innovatively. Okay, what new business cases? How can the skills be transferable? How can we work in a more agile way? So taking a sort of creative, innovative mindset, growth mindset. What are the opportunities that we can achieve, rather than purely productivity, the efficiency, or costs, or just amplifying so basically, AI will amplify a good company become greater, but a frail company might sort of falter and crack under the lens of AI. So essentially, AI amplifying what's already there. So these are sort of good leadership needs to take a sort of good, hard, honest look at sort of the lens of the AI and the transparency it almost sort of forces, really.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really interesting exploration of the role of the leader, but also the way in which the company sets out what it's for. And there's so much discussion around what a strategy means. But I think for me, it comes down to the principles that you set that allow you to deliver on that strategy as well. So the strategy should be that in a set of tactics that uniquely enables your business to be able to win versus the competitors. But then it's the principles that you set out after you set that strategy that then are how you're going to do it. And sort of almost, you see some companies where they kind of will write those principles on the wall and they'll have the manifestos, and that's feels a bit cheesy at first, I think, when we started to see that coming into the workplace. But actually now it kind of makes sense to me, because those principles are sort of, it's going back to the checklists, from the aviation example. You have those checklists there because it's easy. It takes off that cognitive load for things like that, so you can just make decisions quicker, and they're aligned to the principles of your organization, and therefore they're aligned to the strategy. And then you get down into all the objectives that you're trying to do on a day-to-day basis. So yeah, I think the strategy there is really important for the leader to understand. But in terms of now just kind of switching a little bit to that sort of, I know you're very involved in the AI for Good community, and I wanted to bring in some of your insights from that as well. And what are you seeing there within that community that's adding to the wider conversation around AI, and what things are we missing outside of the AI for Good community?
Yes, it's been really helpful, and I'm very grateful to such an engaged membership. There's clearly a huge appetite for steering technology generally, but AI to be a force for good. There's it's an energy that could be steered in different ways, and without that direction, it'll probably just go to the sort of lowest common denominator aspect, which is again just a pure efficiency drive at the expense of the bigger picture. So what the AI for Good group does, it's thinking, being cognizant of the benefits of the accessibility of AI, but also then the diversity of the data that's going into that as well. One of the early organizations, people we had as a guest on a webinar is Serish from Frugal AI, and the fact that this sort of systems thinking responsible approach, there's the competitive advantage fundamentally. So certainly in the medium to longer term, even we were sort of talking earlier about if it's a constrained business in terms of finances, time, people, there are actually benefits in terms of sort of the innovation of having constraints, rather than when sort of there's almost too much money to throw around, quite inefficient options are created, whereas under that sort of constraint, there's more, I say, creativity, innovation, and collaboration that occurs. We recently did a report speaking to several sustainability leaders and those purpose-led leaders, and what came out of it is again, maybe not realizing it, they're in a great place to, and they've already got the skill set to introduce AI, implement AI in a real resilient way, and that they're with sustainability, for example, there's two sides to the coin. There's AI for sustainability, how it can help the sustainability agenda. Then there's also the sustainability for AI, keeping that eye on how the AI itself can be more efficient use of it, but also the infrastructure. But with sustainability, operationally, the pure efficiency drive aspect does have a big advantage in terms of generally with things that are more efficient, there's less energy use or other resource use. So in the area of sustainability, there are real advantages to that. So the efficiency gains that can be made with AI, but also getting sustainability that leaves those working in sustainability away from a lot of the donkey work. I don't know if that's a politically correct phrase anymore.
I don't think the donkey's going to be too
that to be more value-driven work.
Yeah, no, I think we're fine with donkey work. That still works. But no, that's useful, and I think that there is it's really important to be looking at the impact that AI can have, because it does, as a technology, it can be harnessed for many really important projects which are looking to make energy more efficient, as well as the things which you often read about, helping in health diagnosis, or helping in education. But at the same time, it can also be used in looking at the impact or looking at climate change. I mean, actually, machine learning has been driven a lot by some of the climate researchers, the models they created to understand how the climate's changing. And today it's being used with satellite imagery to understand how that change is happening in real time. So there is a lot which is happening within AI, and I think sometimes we miss the opportunity to tell those stories and to really explain where it's having impact. So I think through your work that you're doing there at Kintara, but also through the communities you're a part of, that really helps, because it's bringing that community together so people can see within that community. What we need to do more of now is kind of shining a light on that, so that other people outside and across the country can see some of that work. So just as we can start to wrap things up, I wanted to get your thoughts on what's the sort of the one thing that you're excited about as you look forward over the next 6 months, because that's still quite a long time in AI. What are the things that you're excited about, either from the technology side or from the sustainability and sort of impact side? What are the things you're excited about?
Yes, well, the thing with sustainability and AI, they're both things which touch everything in the business life, on the planet and beyond. So yeah, choosing just one is quite a challenge. I think what's coming to mind is just the real importance, the understanding now of responsible AI. The events which you hosted earlier in the week about sovereign AI, and the importance of, there's a sort of 24-month window for organizations to really understand, particularly on the data side, the quality of the data they have, who owns it essentially, who's in control of it, which brings to the fore the governance aspect. So really sort of brings it in sharp focus, being ready and prepared for AI. Because there's different elements, but data being a real core pillar, and AI being very heavily reliant on data. Good stuff in, good out, but there's also the flip side to that. If you've got poor quality data, you're not going to get any meaningful results. So I think we're in this really interesting time frame at the moment, where people are moving out of just the experimentation stage. They're realizing the importance of how they use their data to get actually really meaningful insights from that. So I think, yes, that aspect at the moment, the phase we're moving into, where it's sort of not a toy so much, but now, okay, we understand that this is the immense capability of AI. Let's use it intentionally to get real benefits from it. And is excited to see more and more, particularly in sort of the companies working to achieve a certain mission, making larger gains. So whether that's achieving certain sustainability goals, I think we're going to see much more in terms of positive news stories in that respect. And it's that, then that ripple effect, that communication has positive stories, then there'll be more of that coalescing and people understanding, right, let's create the future we want.
Amazing. Yeah, well, that's something which we all have to work towards, I think, is that building that future we want, as you say. So I love that's the vision for the what's coming up over the next year. Ed, how can we find out more about Kintara and stay in touch, and what have you got coming up?
So coming up, the London Climate Action Week will be taking place in the week after next. I think, I'm not sure when this is going out, but the end of June. So looking forward to that. Like I alluded to, the report, which is a 38-page report from insights from research I've done, AI adoption to AI stewardship. If anyone's interested in reading that, please do get in touch, ed@kintara.uk, and I'd be happy to send that out. And yes, so kintara.uk is the website. On LinkedIn, and publish articles frequently from there, particularly in terms of with the human first approach, responsible AI approach, talking about what actually does that mean for a business competitive advantage, and how do you measure it, so you can manage the return on this focus of human first and an intentional use of AI. So please check out the Kintara company page on LinkedIn, and I think that's it for the moment.
Yeah, great. Well, Ed, I've really enjoyed hearing more about Kintara today and some of the work you've been doing, and really that analogy from your career of between aviation and how we're trying to drive transformation and engagement and adoption within organizations. That was a really powerful analogy that I think helps us understand the importance of having that human first approach and why humans still are very key, particularly within mission-led and purpose-led organizations. So we've tackled a lot there, and thanks very much for joining us on the podcast today.
Thank you very much for having me, Tim. Really appreciate it.